To be honest, I myself, I'm not a big fan of these PDFs listing a bunch of useful phrases in Chinese, because to me they're often very detached from reality. 其实我也犯了这个错误，我背了很多这种所谓的地道的句子，但是你晚点会发现，其实他们不太有用的，要么因为他们根本太正式了，要么因为他们其实属于书面语言。And so this is why I created my own version. I want to teach you some sentences which I learned from real life. I want to present you the real ones that actually find application in daily life. So I also compiled this kind of list, but only from sentences which I learned along the way here in China. I learned them from other people and I started using them myself. And I also went through some sort of trial. I know a phrase in Chinese going 据我所知, it means as far as I know. We use that a lot in English, right? We say, as far as I know, she should be arriving tomorrow evening. And then I really wanted to know how to say that in Chinese because I want to translate that feeling, that meaning that I'm not entirely sure. I want to add this kind of as far as I know, so based on my latest knowledge, based on my latest information. So if you translate it, this is what you get. 据我所知, but nobody says that. I had heaps of discussions with several Chinese friends and they all told me, I know what it means, but I have never heard it in my entire life because it's just way too formal. And this is the typical mistake you can make. You translate from English into Chinese, you start using it, and then you will get these very weird stares and like, you sound like an ancient book or like an ancient poem. Unfortunately, Chinese people just don't say that. They don't say as far as I know. They just say 我觉得, I think, and that's it. So I want to cut that crap. I don't want to teach these kind of phrases, just the real stuff. So stick to the end of the video because you can download this PDF for free, even if I just criticize it myself. And I want to talk a little about how to found these sentences, how to learn them, and what to watch out for. So let's just begin with the first one, 随便, which means whatever. It's used whenever something is presented to you or when someone asks for your preference but you don't really care. You can 随便, or you can say 我无所谓, which means I can do either way, or 都行, which literally means all can do, or 都可以, 都行. Second one, 真的假的, 真的吗? It is used a lot between friends. If you want to express that you're surprised, you hear some unbelievable news, you're a little shocked, and you say 真的假的, 真的假的. Very, very authentic. You hear it amongst friends all the time. Another one is 太夸张了吧, 太夸张了吧. It literally means it's so exaggerated. Nobody would say that in English, but it just means like whoa, which is way too much. It's like too much, it's way above. Another similar one is 太过分了吧, 太过分了. 过分 just means excessively, like too much. And I use that a lot with my friends. Even if it's just a trifle, you can still say, 你太过分了, 你太过分了, you're so exaggerated. Another similar one is 太逆天了, 太逆天了. I can't really translate it, but it's more like slang. I only heard young people say it. So my personal favorite is 太过分了. 你疯了吗? Are you crazy? 你疯了吗? This one here, same as all the others, depend on context. Heavily depends on the context. If you say it in a very serious scenario, you were driving your 电瓶车 here in China, and you get hit by somebody and you said 你疯了吗? Then it's some sort of aggressive tone. Like, are you crazy? Can't you drive? But if you say it between your friends, it has that joking kind of atmosphere. So you always have to watch out where you use it. 算了吧 is very, very common if you just want to say, you know what, never mind, forget about it. If you want to give up an argument or an idea, you can also add that 还是算了. Let's better forget about it. Like if you think, it's not worth the effort, 算了吧. A very important one is 那就这样吧. 那就这样吧. Let's just have it that way. Or let's just leave it at here. Let's just leave it at that. So end a discussion or a decision. So at the end of a conversation, you can say 那就这样吧. Like, okay, then we'll do it like that. This is one expression that I really wanted to know how to say it so badly when I just came to China. It happens many times. You just rock up at a convenience store, 便利店, and you just buy a drink or 2 bottles of water, you place it on that table for them to scan, and then you want to express the idea of that's it. Like, just that. Or if you're selecting something in a coffee shop, you say, I want to have this drink, this, blah, 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 and that's it. And especially in the beginning, I just didn't know how to say that because you cannot translate from English into Chinese. And this is where I learned 就这些吧, 就这些吧. Like, only these, just that. And I say it every day whenever I buy a drink, 就这些了, just these ones. 太麻烦了 just means so annoying. As always, there are lots of variations. 很烦 or 烦死了 like annoying to death. And this structure with 死, you will see it used in so many different variations. You probably have heard 饿死了, which means dying from hunger, like I could eat a horse right now, 我饿死了. But you can also use it as in it's so warm outside, 我差一点热死了. I'm almost dying from heat. You can say you have so much homework, you've been writing so much that you almost 写死了, like dying from writing. And it can be used from being angry, like 气死我了. Or what you hear many times is 笑死我了, like 笑死了, dying from laughter. And this is something that I even hear uncles on the street say 笑死我了, 笑死我了. Even have the XSWL, it's like the abbreviation. So very authentic. Another authentic expression is 我受不了, like I can't stand it anymore, I've had enough, I'm fed up, I'm sick of. Also something you use a lot in every language. You want to express that you've had enough. 我受不了, and then you can add something. Or you can say something in the beginning, 这个他的行为我受不了. And another similar way is 受够了, I received enough, or I've had enough. This is what I often say if people ask me, why did you move? And then I say, 我受够了合肥这个城市. I've had enough of this city, I'm fed up. Okay, another funny one, but also serious one, depends on the context, is 关你什么事? Like, what does it concern you? What of your business is it? 关你什么事? Concern you what thing? There are also variations. One of my friends even said, you can even say 关你屁事. It's more like, concerns you a fart thing. Like, it doesn't concern you. It doesn't damn concern you. It adds that damn. Like, it's none of your damn business. Another one is 你不用管, like you don't need to, it just means none of your business. Another one that is actually used in daily life is 别瞎说, don't talk nonsense. 瞎 literally means like blind, so don't blindly talk. It's to cut the crap. So I use it, other people use it. Another one that I like to use is 都是借口. It means like it's all just excuse. And this is something you can use with your friends. If you ask your friend, did you go for a run today already? Didn't you say you want to go for a run? The person says, oh no, I saw that it's raining, blah, and you say 都是借口. It's all just excuses. A very fixed phrase. These 4 characters. There might be some variations, like I presented in the earlier ones, there are always some other ways of putting it, but this is a very fixed phrase that I've heard. So it's very set and very fixed. Same as 以防万一, which means just in case. However, I'm a bit careful here. I heard 1 or 2 friends say that, or whenever I said it, people understood, but I didn't hear other people use it as much. Maybe because I was never in that situation where I asked somebody, why do you do that? We don't need to prepare for it. And then as a response, this person says back to me, just in case, just be ready for anything. Or maybe Chinese people just don't want to add this kind of just in case, even if this phrase exists. But stick to the end, I want to say another thing about these kind of phrases where I'm not entirely sure if they are authentic or not. Also, I want to use this example here to teach a little lesson. This phrase here is 不好意思打扰一下, or 打扰了. It means excuse me or sorry for bothering you. It's used if you open the door and there are 2 people discussing, but you need to interrupt because of something important. You say 不好意思打扰一下. Usually Chinese people don't really say that, unless it's in a very formal environment. So if you're at the airport or if you are at the train station and you want to check in, you want to scan your passport as a foreigner, then people, they don't care. They just, you know, the way Chinese people are always with cutting the line, they just crash in from the side, even if you're about to scan your passport or hand it over to the staff, and they just say like, here, scan my ID, scan my ID. They don't come in and say, oh, sorry for interrupting you, but I'm in a hurry. They just crash in, because China is just a huge population, right? But personally, I would still use it. Even if Chinese people told me, oh, it's too formal, why do you apologize? Why do you say please? Why do you say thank you? Just be more direct. But I think it's just manners. In my native language, I have these kind of manners, and I want to say it in Chinese, and I don't care if it sounds too formal. And I use it, so just recently I went to 中国移动, which is like the network provider here in China, one of the 3 biggest. because I wanted to renew my plan and set up some Wi-Fi at home. And then they were in the midst of a conversation and I was just waiting there. And then this lady said like, oh, what do you want online? And I also said, 不好意思，打扰一下. So just to add that polite tone, using this example, I just want to tell you, it all depends on the situation. And some expressions, they have a certain degree of formality. And all you gotta do is find out how formal is it. In which scenario can I use it? Now, getting back to these very, very authentic expressions, one of them is definitely 真完蛋了, or 完蛋了. 完蛋了 means I'm screwed, like I'm cooked. And you can use it just in an isolated way or as part of a sentence, just before taking a test. 我不是为了这个考试好好准备的话，我就真完蛋了. So it's just expressing, okay, I'm cooked, I'm in serious trouble. But it has that fun kind of tone. Whenever I say it in front of Chinese people who I meet for the first time, they always start to laugh because they find it funny that I know this authentic expression. And then there are certainly some expressions which are useful in the middle of a conversation, such as 哦，不好意思，我刚刚走神了. I use it a lot if I talk to people online, on Hello Talk, and I was just doing something else on my phone. They asked a question, and I didn't really hear it, and then, or I heard it, but I just pretend that I was gone. Actually, I just didn't understand, and I just want them to say it again. And I say, oh, 我刚刚走神了. It means like, I dropped out for a second. I wasn't listening, or I was not paying attention. Because you're talking to your friends a lot and making out some appointments or something, especially if you come to China and want to meet somebody, or if you make out a time for a phone call, you can say 那就这么定了. It means, okay, it's settled then. It's to confirm a plan or an agreement. 那就这么定了. It's like at the end, if you know all the details. Or another one, useful for conversations, even online. 我们说到哪了? 我们说到哪了? It's like, well, where were we? If you were just interrupted by something and you want to get back on track in a conversation. Where did we just stop? 我们刚刚说到哪了? If you don't understand people, usually these PDFs that I was hating on, they say something like 不好意思，我不明白您的意思. Way too formal. Usually just 我不懂, I don't understand. Or a very authentic expression, 我 get 不到. Because Chinese people know the English expression I get you, I don't get you, and they mix it up with Chinese. 我 get 不到你的意思. 我 get 得到你的意思. So, very authentic expression. Another one which is kind of high in terms of its degree in heaviness, it's 让我作呕. 什么什么 makes me sick or makes me want to vomit. 作呕 literally means to puke. This is something you use if you lost it. Like if you're complaining about your boss and about your work, and you just want to express how annoyed you are. It's not just 烦死了, like annoyed from anger. It's like it just makes me want to vomit. So you see, all these expressions that have a different degree of how heavy they actually are. Okay, last one for here. 太可惜了 means, oh, what a pity. Happened to me many times. I walk into a store and ask, do you also have this thing here? And they don't have it. What should I say? Okay. Because I don't know what else to say? No, I learned this phrase here by heart because I heard other people use it. I saw it from videos. I put it into my Anki deck, and I can just pull it out naturally. And it's like, 太可惜了, 那没事，下次吧. Like, it sounds very natural. You pull it out, you have that feeling, and you just translate it into words. That's just what languages are all about. Okay, now I have another one, but I just want to use it as an illustration to be a bit cautious. So this one is 何苦呢? And translating into English, it means why bother? Like somebody's doing some unnecessary effort and you just want to question and say, why bother? Let's just grab a taxi instead of trying to get the cheap version by subway or something. You just say, why bother? But this one here is kind of sus because I never heard anyone use it. I even forgot where I picked it up, I think from a video or something, or a Chinese person explained that to me. But because I never heard anyone use it myself, I have no feeling for it. And this is where you actually need to take it, either put it into ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and explain the implication of that expression, maybe give you a scenario where it would be appropriate to be used, or you go and ask your Chinese friends and ask them, do you ever use this sentence here? So now let me show you how I found these expressions. Let me start a screen recording. So I have many different ways to gather these sentences. Obviously, first and foremost, from real life. I can just hear other people use it and I just copy it. This is that stage for learning a language that becomes copy-paste. So I just observe very meticulously how other people have a conversation, and then I hear some phrases over and over again. Someone's like, oh, 我懂了, 我懂了. Oh, 那确实, 确实. This is how I learned it. Somebody used it in a conversation to confirm. It's like, oh yeah, indeed. Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, definitely. 确实, 确实. And this is how I pick it up, put it into my Anki, learn it, and use it myself. Another way, however, is watching YouTube videos. And then I always like to take screenshots. Because I just don't want to stop the flow of the video, take that phrase, put it into my phone, maybe translate something, look something up. I just take a screenshot and look at all the screenshots later. So here we have 我跟正好相反, or 我是你的相反. So I'm your exact opposite. Because in my conversations, I sometimes have that feeling. I want to express, oh, I'm exactly the opposite of yours. And this is where I finally learned it. So I take a screenshot and put it into my deck. Another one very useful, isn't it obvious? This is something you use in a conversation, right? Huh, isn't it obvious? And he says, 这还用问吗? 这还用问吗? Which literally means, this still needs questioning? Like, isn't it obvious? Do you still need to ask? This one is also a good one. 我没有记错的话, 我没有记错的话. If I am not mistaken in my memory, so if I don't recall it wrongly. This is also something you want to add to your sentence, not just I think. You want to swap the phrase every once in a while, and you want to add this emphasis of I'm not entirely sure if I remember it correctly. Yeah, to wrap it up, these are just some examples. Check out what I left behind in the description box. You can download this PDF. These phrases are only like 10% or even less of the potential, which is actually in knowing these fixed phrases and applying them in the right situation. I just opened my deck and wrote down the most used ones, or the ones I just remember from the top of my head because I use them all the time. But there are still many other details which you can save as flashcards. So how to express your thoughts in a conversation. For example, how to say, it depends on. This is a very repetitive phrase. You want to say that it comes down to. I was in front of that situation once. I wanted to say, it depends on, but then I realized, wait, actually I don't know how to say that in Chinese. That's why I looked it up, I asked Chinese people, and I write it down. And then forever after, I know how to say it. So this kind of stuff is important to me, that it's actually realistic, that it's practical, that it's useful. And in case you didn't know, I offered a Chinese beginners class, but not on italki and not on Preply, because on Preply and italki I can only teach German and English. So if you are interested in starting learning Chinese, then just send me a message on Instagram or to my email in the description. Alright, I'll catch you next time.